Oh my gosh. Why in the wombat is the office filled with snow? Ryan!
Hi, Pamela.
Ryan, what are you doing?
Haven't you heard the news? There was snow in LA this week. And since that almost never happens, I decided to put snow in the studio. Time for a snowball fight in the 10 News studio!
Ryan, put the snowballs down. It's time to start the show. I'm Pamela Kirkland.
And I'm Ryan Willard. It's Wednesday, March 1st.
And this is the 10 News.
10,
9,
8,
7,
6,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
March 1st marks the start of Women's History Month. This celebration began in the early 1980s and was formally announced by the U.S. Congress in 1987.
It's an entire month dedicated to the achievements and contributions made by women to all areas of life, from medicine, aviation, and space travel to writing, music, and dance. It's also a time to celebrate how far women's rights have come. Just over 100 years ago, women could not vote in the U.S., and even after winning the right for some women to vote in 1920, it wasn't until 1975 that a law was passed allowing all women from all racial backgrounds to vote.
Seriously? Women's History Month doesn't just commemorate the past accomplishments of famous women like Amelia Earhart and Rosa Parks, but also recognizes women making history today, like Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
In my family, it took just one generation to go from segregation to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Former astronaut and director of the Johnson Space Center, Dr. Ellen Ochoa.
I wanted to give kids the ideas that the things they're naturally interested in, asking questions about the world and trying to understand it, that's exactly what scientists do.
And Oscar-winning film director, Chloe Zhao.
I have always found goodness in the people I met everywhere I went in the world. And this is for you. You inspire me to keep going.
March is also when the UN celebrates International Women's Day. This year, it falls on March 8th. The theme is Digital, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. According to studies by the UN, involving women in the creation of digital technologies will make the global economy $1 trillion richer. Plus, it'll make digital spaces safer for women and girls.
Woohoo! The theme for this year's Women's History Month is celebrating women who tell our stories. So we're inviting tenors to tell us the story of a woman who inspires you. Call 1-877-10-NEWS and leave us a message about a woman who inspires you. Then we'll play your messages in our episodes all throughout Women's History Month.
Nice.
All right, Rye. I won't throw a snowball if you don't throw a snowball.
But if I throw, you'll throw?
That's correct.
Hey, guys. Ryan, Pam, what is happening in here? Is this snow? And now is the floor all icy? I expect this from Ryan, but Pam, we have jobs to do. Very cool jobs.
I might have gotten a little carried away, but while we're on the topic of jobs, Ryan Nerz is joining us today to tell us about quite possibly the coolest job I've ever heard of.
That's a job.
This is a story about two awesome jobs. The first job, well, I'll give you a hint. It involves snow and also smelling. And this is one of those jobs where you start really, really young.
He worked at Alpine Meadows his whole life. He started there when he was, I think, 10 weeks old, maybe even younger. He was very young. And wow. They start training right away.
You heard that right. 10 weeks old. I mean, this job training starts during potty training. To be fair, it is a pretty simple job. It basically just involves sniffing around in the snow for particular smells. But guess what? You could never get this job. Partially because you're not a good enough smeller, but mainly because you're human.
So Walter was an avalanche search dog at Alpine Meadows in Lake Tahoe. He worked with my husband, Colin, who's a ski patroller there.
That's Megan Butcher from Truckee, California. She was the co-owner of Walter, the golden retriever with the golden nose.
He loved his job. He was made for that job. He was a dog from a hunting line. So he was super high drive, super high energy, a little crazy, but that was good. And he had a great life.
Yes, sadly, Walter passed away in 2020. But he brought so much joy and has left such a rich legacy that I think you'll agree. His story has a happy ending. Walter was very close to his handler, Megan's husband, Colin. So close that Walter didn't really approve of her moving into their house.
I'll never forget one day when we were newly married, I had a pile of my clothes lined up and a pile of my husband's, and Walter destroyed my pile and didn't touch my husband's, and they were touching. I mean, so I was like, oh, this is a very different relationship.
But it's no surprise that they were so close. Walter the dog and Colin the human lived and worked together, and their job could get intense. Whenever an avalanche struck near Alpine Meadows Ski Resort, Walter, Colin, and their whole crew would go investigate. Walter and the other dogs were trained to smell humans, but Megan says their job was bigger than that.
Obviously, the hope is that they can get that live find. And the live find is like they find the person alive under the snow. But I mean, they bring so much joy to people at the resorts that I think that in itself is really cool. They have dog trading cards for all these dogs. And I mean, I've met kids who have scrapbooks full of these trading cards, and they're teenagers now, and they have loved them for years.
Wait, what? Walter had his own trading card? What a star. Actually, sometimes that star power would get Megan some benefits around town, like when she went to go pick up her ski pass.
The girl behind the pass desk was getting my season ski pass. She said something and she's like, oh, well, I don't see you on this list. And I was like, okay, well, I am. And then something came up about Walter, and she was like, oh, you know Walter? I was like, yes, Walter's my dog. Can you give me my ski pass now because he's my dog?
Needless to say, Walter was a special dog, and his owners were extremely sad when he passed.
They're family members, and especially with Walter, I mean, he went to work with my husband every day in the winter. So it was really hard. It was hard for me to see when he went back to patrolling that winter. Like, I was like, how is this going to be? You know, it was definitely an emotional connection that they had.
Little did Megan know that Walter's legacy would live on, thanks not just to their memories of him, but also to social media.
When he passed away in 2020, there was this viral video of him on Instagram. I guess on all social media. He's loading a chairlift with my husband, and the guy in the background of the video is like so excited and so amped to see this happen.
It's true. The guy watching Walter load the chair is really psyched. Have a listen.
Yes! Please tell me you're gonna get it. That is awesome!
Good boy, Walter. Just to give you a visual, Walter casually walks up to the ski lift chair and just hops on. The cutest part is his tail sticking out behind the chair. The clip was hugely popular, 320,000 likes and counting. Megan got an idea. She wondered whether she could use Walter's memory to spread awareness about ski patrol dogs and also help make her own dream job a reality.
I was a journalism major in college a million years ago, and then became a first grade teacher, and then became an event planner. And I was like, I have to use my writing knowledge for something in my life. And I have a 4-year-old, and I've always wanted to write a children's book, probably since I was in the 3rd grade, I can remember. And I just one day was like, I'm going to do it. And so I started to do it.
Megan focused on Walter's early years. She called the book Ski Patrol Pups. Finding an illustrator for the book was shockingly easy.
So she lives in Truckee as well. Her son goes to preschool with my son, and we were introduced through one of our good friends. And like I said, she's written 2 children's books herself, the Tahoe and Truckee ABCs. And I've always loved them. And so when my friend was like, hey, you should meet Megan, it's like, perfect. And we just hit it off. And I was able to give her a lot of images of Walter. Like the cover shot is him in a vest, and that's like a picture that we have of him that she illustrated.
There you have it. 2 Megans, 1 amazing book.
And we just started working together, and it was great. But I just really wanted to bring awareness to how important these dogs are. They're not your average dog, and they're really special and really cool.
And that, my friends, is how we come to our second cool job in this story. Ski Patrol Pups got published, and Megan Butcher became an author. These days, if Megan wants to stroll down memory lane with Walter, she can read her own book to her 5-year-old son. Or she can go back and watch that video of him hopping on the ski lift chair, which never gets old for her and millions of other people.
But I think people just loved it because it was so sweet, and he loved to load the chair, and my husband said he always did it so confidently and naturally, and hearing the guy in the background just be so pumped and excited for him. And then he passed away, Walter, that August unexpectedly. And so to see that video continue to be shared and to bring people joy was really cool.
Thanks, Ryan Nerz and Megan. Get your copy of Ski Patrol Pups at the link in our show notes and follow Megan at Ski Patrol Pups.
Welcome to the trivia room.
Hey, Tessa. Pam and Ryan are busy throwing snowballs at each other, so I'm hopping on the throne today.
Well, you're safe in here, Tracy, as long as you're ready to hop up on the trivia throne for our Women's History Month trivia question. Ready?
You bet.
What is going on here? Trivia on the 10.
The UN is celebrating women and digital technology, but did you know that Austrian-American film star and inventor Hedy Lamarr is responsible for a key part of our digital lives today? It's true. But can you guess what everyday tool she's responsible for? Is it A, digital cameras, B, Wi-Fi, or C, texting? Tenors, did you guess it? Tracy, what's your answer?
Oh, I know this one. Not only was she an amazing actress, but she invented Wi-Fi. The answer is B.
The answer is B. Hedy Lamarr invented technology that led to the development of Wi-Fi. As a scientist during World War II, Hedy Lamarr was working on a way to keep radio communication from being intercepted by the Nazis. She developed a method called frequency hopping that is a key part of our modern communication systems, including Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth. So next time you're watching a show on your tablet through your Bluetooth headphones as your grown-ups use GPS to drive around, press pause and thank movie star Hedy Lamarr. Tenors, do you want to sit on the trivia throne and share your trivia knowledge? Visit the10news.com/contact to get in touch, and we might have you on the show.
Psst, Pamela, we're almost done, right? Can I begin my snowball onslaught?
Well, first we've got to give special 10 News snaps to one of our listeners. But before we do, here's a quick note for the grown-ups.
Hello, I'm Mick Sullivan, the host of The Past and the Curious, a history podcast for kids and families. We're excited that in addition to our show, we are able to announce a new book called I See Lincoln's Underpants. It's about the times that underwear and the people wearing them made history. It's a middle grade book, and you'll learn all about Garrett Morgan's heroic pajama rescue, Amelia Bloomer's namesake undies, and the time a group of soldiers saw President Lincoln's homemade underwear, among other things. Published by Heart Ally Press, I See Lincoln's Underpants is available wherever books are sold. More info at thepastandthecurious.com.
Time for 10 News Snaps.
Tenor B. Nathan Nola wrote this review of the 10 News. Great voices, curiosity, investigative news, and diversity of interests. I'm always listening in with my kids.
Thanks, B. Nathan Yola. And thanks for listening to the 10 News. 10 Things You Need to Know drops every Tuesday, and our in-depth reports drop every Wednesday. But if you want some bonus content, you can join the Tenors Club on our website or on Apple Podcasts.
The 10 News is a co-production of Small But Mighty Media and Next Chapter Podcasts.
The 10 News creative team is finally having a snowball fight and includes Tracy Crooks, Pete Musto, and Tessa Flannery. Special thanks to Ryan Nerz for contributing to this episode.
Our production director is Jeremiah Tittle, and our executive producers are Donald Albright and show creator Tracy Leeds Kaplan.
I'm Ryan Willard.
And I'm Pamela Kirkland. Thanks for listening to the 10 News. Now off to continue the snowball fight.
We're taking a quick break to tell you about Future Hindsight, a podcast that takes big ideas about civic life and democracy and turns them into action items for all of us. They think about what you can do beyond voting, short of running for office. Turns out, there are so many possibilities. On Future Hindsight, host Mila Atmos has compelling conversations with public servants, activists, journalists, and so much more. Together, they tell the story about your power and agency in the future of this American experiment. You'll always get a dose of hope and inspiration on how you can get involved. Future Hindsight is a weekly podcast. You can listen on your favorite app or on